The Ultimatum. Captain Ilara Voss stood at the command center of the TSV Defiance, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing the massive Concorde vessel that had appeared at the edge of the Sol system without warning. The sleek, crystalline ship dwarfed her own vessel, its iridescent hull shimmering against the backdrop of stars. 20 years in the Terran Space Force had taught her to recognize threats, and everything about this unannounced visit from the Galactic Concorde felt wrong. "They're hailing us, Captain," Lieutenant Riza said from his communication station. "Priority channel." Ilara squared her shoulders. On screen, the hologram shifted to reveal a tall, slender figure with pale blue skin and elongated features, Ambassador Thalen of the Galactic Concorde. His expression, as always, was unreadable. "Captain Voss," he said, his voice melodious yet cold, "the Concorde Council requests your immediate presence. A matter of grave importance requires discussion." "I wasn't aware the Defiance was scheduled for diplomatic duties, Ambassador," Ilara replied cautiously. "This is not a request that allows for delay," Thalen said. "The matter concerns your species' recent technological advancements." Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. 3 months ago, Dr. Imani Chen had successfully tested the quantum displacement drive, humanity's breakthrough achievement that would allow instantaneous travel across vast interstellar distances. The technology had been developed entirely by human scientists, without Concorde oversight or approval. "Very well," she said. "Permission to dock granted." 2 hours later, Ilara sat across from Ambassador Thalen in the Defiance's conference room. 5 other Concorde representatives flanked him, each from different species that made up the powerful interstellar alliance that had guided humanity's development since first contact 80 years ago. "The Concorde Council has reached a unanimous decision," Thalen said, sliding a crystalline data tablet across the table. "Humanity must immediately cease all quantum displacement research and surrender all prototypes, designs, and research data to Concorde oversight." Ilara kept her expression neutral as she reviewed the document. "This isn't a request. It's an ultimatum. A necessary precaution," said Voxnari, a mantis-like representative from the Pharaon Collective. "Your species has developed technology you are not evolutionarily prepared to wield responsibly." "We've complied with every regulation the Concorde has imposed for decades," Ilara countered. "The quantum displacement drive was developed using our own resources, our own scientists. Technologies of this nature require millennia of cultural evolution to manage responsibly," interrupted another representative, this one a gelatinous being whose name Ilara couldn't recall. "Your species still engages in tribal conflicts on your homeworld. You are not ready." Ilara's jaw tightened. "And when will we be ready?" "Another century. A millennium. The Concorde has controlled human expansion since first contact. We have 12 colony worlds while other Concorde species have hundreds. The terms are non-negotiable," Thalen said, his tone final. "Earth has 7 standard days to comply, or the Concorde will be forced to implement containment protocols." The threat was clear. In Concorde terminology, containment protocols meant military action, blockades at minimum, orbital bombardment at worst. "I'll relay your message to Earth Central Command," Ilara said, rising from her seat. "But I suspect you already know our answer." As the Concorde delegation departed, Ilara contacted Admiral Wyzon, her direct superior, and the highest-ranking officer in Earth's Defense Force. "They're afraid," Admiral Zhang said after Ilara reported the encounter. "The quantum drive would change everything. It would give us true independence." "There's more, sir," Ilara said. "I received an encrypted transmission from Dr. Sato on Theros colony right before the Concorde arrived. They've discovered something in the northern ruins, something that could change our understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy." "The Theros ruins? Those are pre-human structures." "That's just it, sir. Dr. Sato believes they're not alien at all. They're human, and they're over 50,000 years old." The Admiral's expression shifted from skepticism to shock. "That's impossible. 50,000 years ago, Humans were primitive hunter-gatherers. According to what we've been taught, yes, Ilara replied. But what if our history isn't what we thought? What if the Concord's ultimatum isn't about protecting the galaxy from us, but about keeping us from discovering something about ourselves? Zhang was silent for a long moment. This ultimatum gives us 7 days. I want you to take the Defiance to Theros. Use the stealth systems. Find out what Sato discovered. I'll convene the Council on Earth. And the Concord. Let us help, Maya insisted. Crixus can engage their smaller craft directly while your ship focuses on the larger threats. You're proposing to pilot a combat beast in actual space warfare. Silara's scales rippled with disbelief. Even with your unusual bond, you lack the training and experience. But Crixus has both, Maya countered. I don't need to control them. We just need to work together. Another hit rocked the ship, more violent than the first. Shield integrity critical, called out a crew member. We cannot sustain this level of fire. Silara made her decision with military swiftness. Prepare Crixus for combat deployment, she ordered, then fixed Maya with an intense stare. If you betray us, you will not survive to reach the High Capital. Noted, Maya replied grimly. Minutes later, Maya found herself secured in a specialized harness attached to Crixus's neural interface. The combat beast was equipped with space-worthy armor and propulsion systems that integrated seamlessly with his biological form. Neural link established, reported a Virillian technician. Interface stability at 93%. That's high, Silara observed, sounding almost impressed. Higher than many Virillian pilots achieve on their first deployment. The launch bay depressurized, and a countdown began. Maya took deep breaths, centering herself as she had been trained to do in crisis situations. Through the neural link, she felt Crixus' excitement. The combat beast was in his element, eager for battle. Launch in 3, 2, 1. The deployment pod shot from the ship, carrying Maya and Crixus into the void. For a terrifying moment, Maya felt the absolute emptiness of space around them. Then Crixus's armor systems engage, creating a protective field and stabilizing their trajectory. Through their neural link, Maya saw what Crixus saw. Enemy ships swarming around Silara's vessel, their organic hull designs marking them as Virillian technology, but modified with crude, aggressive alterations. Target acquisition, came the thought. Not in words, but in concepts that Maya's mind translated. Crixus had identified the most immediate threats. Engage, Maya confirmed, and the combat beast surged forward. What followed was unlike anything Maya had experienced. Crixus moved through space with grace and power, his armor's propulsion systems allowing for maneuvers that would crush an unprotected human. Maya's role wasn't to pilot but to strategize, to help Crixus see patterns and opportunities that his combat-focused mind might miss. Together, they disabled enemy craft one by one. Crixus's advanced weapon systems targeting propulsion and weapons rather than life support. Maya's influence guiding him toward disabling rather than destroying when possible. Through the chaos, Maya caught glimpses of Silara's ship fighting with renewed effectiveness now that the smaller craft were being engaged. The commander had adapted her strategy brilliantly, using Maya and Crixus as an unexpected force multiplier. As the battle began to turn in their favor, Maya detected something through Crixus's enhanced sensors, a larger vessel approaching from behind the moon, its signature masked but unmistakable. Commander Silara, Maya transmitted. Additional hostile inbound, bearing 270. It's big. Command ship class. Confirmed, came Silara's reply. All units, regroup for coordinated defense. The rebel reinforcement emerged fully from behind the moon, a massive ship that dwarfed the others. Its design was disturbing. Virillian organic technology grotesquely modified with mechanical components that seemed crude yet effective. That vessel carries their leadership, Silara transmitted. If we can disable it, the attack will collapse. Through her link with Crixus, Maya analyzed the approaching threat. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy readings. They've modified their main weapon systems with, I'm not sure, but it doesn't match any Virillian technology I've seen through Crixus's memory. Arcturus Collective Technology. Silera replied, her voice tight. The rebels have allied with your people's enemies. The implications were immediately clear to Maya. If the Arcturus Collective was providing technology to Virillian rebels, they were playing a dangerous game, weakening both Earth's potential allies and their own rivals simultaneously. We need to take out that main weapon before it charges, Maya said. Crixus and I can get close enough to target the primary emitter. Negative, Silera responded. That's a suicide run. Return to formation. Maya felt Crixus's disagreement through their bond. The combat beast had assessed the threat and calculated a trajectory that might work. President Adama's weathered face was grave. The Concord possesses military technology far beyond our current capabilities. If we defy them openly, they could destroy our colonies, perhaps even Earth itself. Unless, Ilara said, the ruins on Theros contain more than just historical records. She transferred a new set of data to the Council's displays. Dr. Sato's team has identified what appears to be a defensive system integrated throughout the ruins. If we can activate it, it might give us leverage, something to make the Concord reconsider military action. You're suggesting we use ancient, untested technology as a deterrent? Asked Representative Chen skeptically. I'm suggesting we use our own technology to protect ourselves, Ilara corrected. Technology that once belonged to our ancestors. President Adama studied the data for a long moment before looking up. Captain Voss, return to Theros with whatever personnel and resources Dr. Sato requires. Your mission is to activate this defensive system, if it exists, and if it can be safely controlled. He turned to address the entire council. Meanwhile, we will prepare our response to the Concord. We will not surrender the quantum displacement technology. We will not allow our future to be dictated by those who try to erase our past. Humanity will chart its own course among the stars, as we did once before. As the council session ended, Ilara received a priority alert from the Defiance. Concord vessels had been detected entering the Theros system. They know, she realized with a sinking feeling. Somehow, they know what we found. The race against time had begun. The revelation. The Defiance streaked through hyperspace, pushing its engines beyond safe limits. In the ship's tactical room, Ilara briefed her team on the rapidly evolving situation. Concord vessels have established a blockade around Theros, she explained, displaying the latest intelligence on the holographic table. They haven't landed troops yet, but it's only a matter of time. Commander Cato studied the tactical display. The Concord cruiser Inevitable is commanding the blockade, a Nexus-class warship with enough firepower to reduce our colony to ash. Then we don't engage them directly, Ilara said. The Defiance's stealth systems should get us past their perimeter. We'll approach from the night side and use the magnetic disturbances in the southern hemisphere to mask our signature. Dr. Imani Chen, the quantum physicist whose breakthrough had triggered the Concord Ultimatum, looked up from the ancient data they'd recovered. I still can't believe what we've discovered. An entire civilization, our civilization, erased from history. Believe it, said Dr. Sato, who had joined them aboard the Defiance. The quantum displacement theory you developed matches exactly with the principles outlined in these ancient records. You didn't invent it, Dr. Chen. You remembered it, which explains why the Concord is so determined to stop us, Ilara added. They'd been manipulating human development for millennia, ensuring we never regained our former capabilities. But why not just eliminate us entirely? Asked Lieutenant Riza. Why preserve humanity at all? Dr. Sato's expression darkened. According to the records, they tried. The war devastated both sides. In the end, the Conclave, as they called themselves then, couldn't bring themselves to commit complete genocide. Instead, they opted for what they considered mercy, allowing humans to survive, but stripped of their knowledge, their technology, their history, everything that made them a threat. The ship shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace, materializing in the shadow of Theros' largest moon. "We have a narrow window," Ilara announced. "Stealth systems at maximum. Take us in, Commander." The Defiance slipped past the Concorde blockade, its advanced stealth technology, ironically, developed with Concorde assistance, rendering it virtually invisible to conventional sensors. They landed in a narrow canyon 15 kilometers from the main excavation site. "The Concorde hasn't occupied the ruins yet," reported Lieutenant Risa, monitoring communications. "But they've established a perimeter. Ground troops are moving in." "Then we'd better move faster," Ilara said. "Dr. Sato, you said there's a secondary entrance." "Yes, through the western ridge. It's narrow, but it should get us into the lower chambers undetected." They moved out under the cover of Theros' perpetual twilight, a small team consisting of Ilara, Dr. Sato, Dr. Chen, Commander Kato, and 2 security specialists. The rugged terrain provided cover as they approached the hidden entrance, a narrow fissure in the rocky hillside that Dr. Sato's team had discovered weeks earlier. The main excavation focused on the central chamber, Sato explained as they squeezed through the passage. "But there's an entire network of connected facilities beneath the surface. We've only begun to map them." The passage opened into a dimly lit corridor, its walls inscribed with the same proto-human script they'd seen before. Unlike the main chamber, this section showed signs of battle damage, scorched walls, and collapsed sections that had been hastily cleared. "This was a military installation," Commander Kato observed, running his hand along a damaged section of wall. "These aren't archaeological excavations. These are weapon impacts." "The final stand," Dr. Sato agreed solemnly. "According to the records, this facility was among the last to fall when the Conclave invaded Theros." They continued deeper, following Sato's guidance until they reached a sealed door marked with symbols that seemed to pulse with inner light. "This is it," Sato said, her voice hushed. "The control center for the planetary defense system." Dr. Chen examined the door mechanism. "It's genetically keyed. It's waiting for human DNA authentication." "After 50,000 years?" Ilara asked skeptically. "These systems were designed to last," Sato explained, "to wait for humanity to reclaim its legacy." Ilara stepped forward and placed her palm against the central panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the symbols flared with brilliant blue light, and the massive door slid open with a sound of ancient mechanisms awakening. Beyond lay a circular chamber dominated by a crystalline structure that rose from floor to ceiling, a complex lattice that pulsed with energy. Terminals surrounded it, their surfaces clearing of dust as the room's systems reactivated. "It's beautiful," breathed Dr. Chen, approaching one of the terminals. "The quantum principles at work here, they're the same ones I discovered, but refined to a degree I never imagined possible." "Can you activate the defense system?" Ilara asked. I think so," Chen replied, studying the interface. "The language is unfamiliar, but the mathematical principles are clear. This isn't just a defensive array. It's a quantum displacement field generator. It could shield the entire planet from attack." As Chen worked, Lieutenant Risa's voice came through Ilara's communicator. "Captain, we have a situation. A Concorde landing party has entered the main excavation site. They're heading your way. How much time do we need?" Ilara asked Dr. Chen. 10 minutes, maybe less," she replied, her fingers dancing across the ancient controls. "The system is recognizing me as authorized personnel, but the activation sequence is complex." "Commander, secure the corridor," Ilara ordered. "We need to buy Dr. Chen time." Kato nodded and positioned himself with the security team at the entrance, weapons ready. Ilara joined Dr. Sato at another terminal, where the archaeologist was downloading historical records. "There's something else here," Sato said, her voice tight with urgency. "Something about the quantum displacement technology that doesn't match our understanding." "What do you mean?" "According to this, the technology wasn't primarily a weapon or even a propulsion system. It was a communications network, a way for humans across thousands of worlds to remain connected instantaneously, regardless of distance. A communications network powerful enough to terrify the Concord? Ilara asked skeptically. Sato's eyes widened as she continued reading. Not just communication, consciousness transfer. The records describe it as the human collective, a quantum network that allowed humans to share knowledge, experiences, even memories across vast distances. That's why the Concord fears it, Ilara realized. If we reactivate that network, we might remember everything they made us forget. Sato finished. The sound of weapons fire echoed from the corridor. Commander Kato's voice came through the comm. Concord forces approaching. We can't hold them long. Dr. Chen, Ilara called. Almost there, Chen replied, her face illuminated by the pulsing light of the terminal. The system is online, but I need to calibrate the targeting parameters to exclude our ships. More weapons fire. Closer now. One of the security specialists stumbled back into the chamber, energy burn scoring his armor. They're using suppression tactics, he reported, trying to take the chamber intact. Of course they are, Ilara said grimly. They want to destroy what we found, erase the evidence again. Got it, Chen exclaimed as the crystalline structure at the center of the room flared to brilliant life, energy cascading through its lattice. Defense system active. The effect was immediate and unexpected. Rather than conventional weaponry, the system emitted a pulse of energy that expanded outward from the facility, passing harmlessly through humans, but causing the advancing Concord forces to freeze in place, their weapons powering down. What happened? Ilara asked, stepping cautiously toward the corridor where Concord soldiers stood immobilized. They can still breathe and move, Commander Kato observed, waving his hand before the blank faceplate of a Concord soldier. But their weapons and communications are dead. The defense system recognized them as hostiles and neutralized their technological advantage, Dr. Sato said, just as it was designed to do 50,000 years ago. Ilara's communicator chimed with a priority signal, not from the Defiance, but from an approaching ship. Captain Voss, came a familiar voice. Ambassador Thalen. You have activated dangerous technology you do not understand. Stand down immediately. We understand more than you think, Ambassador, Ilara replied. We know what the Concord did to humanity. We know about the war, about the neural weapon used to reset our civilization. A long silence followed. When Thalen spoke again, his tone had changed. Then you understand why it was necessary. Your species was a threat to galactic stability. Your quantum network allowed you to expand too rapidly, to evolve too quickly. It disrupted the natural order. You mean it disrupted Concord dominance, Ilara countered. Humanity wasn't a threat to stability. We were a threat to your control. We did what was necessary for the greater good, Thalen insisted, and we will do so again if forced. The defense system is now active across the planet, Ilara informed him. Any Concord ship that approaches will be disabled. Furthermore, Dr. Chen has extracted the core principles of the quantum network. Even if you destroy this facility, the knowledge is already spreading to our colonies. Another silence, longer this time. Ilara could almost feel the calculations happening aboard the Concord flagship. What are your demands? Thalen finally asked. No demands, Ilara replied. An invitation. Return to your council with this message. Humanity remembers. We know what we once were, and what was taken from us. But we're not interested in revenge. We're interested in taking our rightful place among galactic species, not as subordinates, but as equals. The Concord will never accept human independence, Thalen warned. The risk is too great. The alternative is worse, Ilara said. We've activated only the defensive capabilities of this facility. There are others, on other worlds, worlds you don't even know we've discovered. Push us, and we'll have no choice but to fully embrace our legacy. It was a bluff, but one based on enough truth to be credible. The historical records suggested that similar facilities existed on other ancient human worlds, though whether they remained functional was unknown. "I will convey your message," Phelan said stiffly, "but do not mistake this temporary cessation of hostilities for acceptance." "Understood, Ambassador. In the meantime, your ground forces are free to leave. Their equipment will function once they're beyond the facility's perimeter." As the communication ended, Ilara turned to her team. "This isn't over. The Concord won't surrender their control easily. But for the first time, we have leverage," Dr. Chen pointed out. "And more importantly, we have knowledge, our history, our technology." Dr. Sato nodded, still downloading data from the ancient terminals. "There's so much here: cultural records, scientific advancement, star charts marking hundreds of former human worlds. We've recovered more than just technology. We've recovered our identity. And our future," Ilara added. She activated her communicator, connecting to the secure channel to Earth. "Admiral Zhang, this is Captain Voss. The defense system is active, and the Concord forces have withdrawn. But more importantly, we've confirmed everything. Humanity's history, the war with the Conclave, the technology they feared, it's all true." "Well done, Captain," came Zhang's reply. "The Council has voted unanimously to reject the Concord Ultimatum. We're dispatching a diplomatic vessel to present our terms: recognition of human independence and the right to develop our technology without oversight." "The Concord won't accept that," Ilara warned. "Perhaps not immediately," Zhang agreed. "But they're pragmatists. The knowledge you've recovered changes the balance of power. They can adapt to a new relationship with humanity, or they can face the consequences of their past actions being revealed to the rest of the galaxy. Many of their member species might not react well to learning they've been complicit in the subjugation of an entire civilization." As they prepared to return to the Defiance, Ilara took a final look around the ancient control chamber, a relic of her species' forgotten greatness, preserved against all odds across 50 millennia. "We've come full circle," Dr. Sato observed, standing beside her. "Our ancestors built this place as their last line of defense. Now it's become our first step toward reclaiming our destiny." "Not just reclaiming it," Ilara said, watching as Dr. Chen carefully extracted a crystal memory core containing the accumulated knowledge of ancient humanity. "Redefining it. We're not the same species we were 50,000 years ago. We've evolved, adapted, even under Concord control." "So what happens now?" asked Commander Kaito. Ilara smiled, a fierce determination in her eyes. "Now we do what humans have always done best. We move forward. We explore. We remember who we were, but we decide for ourselves who we'll become." As the team made their way back through the tunnels toward the surface, the ancient walls seemed to pulse with renewed energy, not just with power, but with promise. Humanity had been broken once, its light nearly extinguished from the galaxy. But that light had endured, flickering in the darkness for 50,000 years, waiting to blaze once more across the stars. This time, nothing would extinguish it.